Hey everyone. So I wanted to try something a little bit different with this story. Most school classrooms probably have a copy of Ed Young's 1989 story called Lon Po Po. It is a Red Riding Hood story from China, and I know of several different ELA curriculums that use this as part of a resource to go along with other stories that students read. So I thought instead of just reading this to you, I would demonstrate how I would do a picture walk for my students. Now, you might be asking what a picture walk is. A picture walk is when you literally walk through the photographs of the story and have students predict what might happen in this picture book without even reading any of the words. For example, I would show this cover of the novel, or not the novel, but the story to my kids, and I would ask them to predict what they think might happen. Then I would tell them the title, the fact that in the subtitle it says A Red Riding Hood Story from China. We would talk about the tale of Little Red Riding Hood that they know and that they are familiar with. Then maybe we would talk about how this one is from China, how it might be different than the ones that we would read here in America. Even based on the illustrations, they might be able to make some predictions. So what I'll do for you is walk through this like a picture walk, and I want you to see what typical students might say. And I'll give you an example by pretending that I'm a student. All right, so if I was looking at this cover, first thing we notice is the wolf, the illustration of the wolf, the fact that it is staring at us. You can start to sense the tone, the red warm colors indicate that this might be a little bit scary. Definitely something that is at least tense, to say the least. As we continue on, we look for the first picture, and we just see a glow around this wolf. It almost looks ghostly. Here we see panes of the illustration with, it looks like a little hut out in a field, no neighbors, no neighborhood, but three people here and one walking away under the sunset or the sunrise, but it shows that someone will be probably most likely leaving home that day. That would be the prediction we could make on this picture walk, again, without reading anything. Here we see three children holding a lantern, so this also gives us an inclination as to when the story takes place and where the story takes place. The fact that they're using candles rather than just the electricity inside their home. And here, because we know already from the cover that it is a Red Riding Hood tale, in this fourth pane off on the right-hand side, we notice and can predict that this is most likely the wolf. Now, again, we're not reading any words, but we see here now it is officially a wolf that the children sense. Their eyes appear to be hesitant towards this wolf, and here it's jumping. So they definitely have some sense of fright and fear. In the story, students would walk through this, making their predictions, and then find out if they're right. Here, it almost looks as if they're all under a cover. Continuing on, we see a close-up of the wolf now howling, the children in a tree. It kind of makes me think of the Three Little Pigs. A student might make a connection to that too, as if it's coming towards them again. And here it is at the base of the tree, those hollow eyes once again. And now it appears that they have either lowered a net for it to raise it up like a basket, but then it's falling in the next pane from behind, a different view of them. Here they are leaning over, here they are from the back, but still the same tree. So it looks as if the wolf may get hurt. And yet here we see it again in a basket falling once again. And here we have a rope with their hands. So I'm going to start to make predictions that they are going to protect themselves from this wolf. They're looking down from the tree. And now in our last page, we see the house again. We can assume it's the same house with a field, and I don't really see anything else. So some of your students are going to make predictions about the wolf and how it might be connected to Little Red Riding Hood. Now what I'm going to do is I will go through the story and read it. So this is Lon Po Po, a Red Riding Hood story from China, written in 1989 by Ed Young. To all the wolves of the world, lending their good name as a tangible symbol for our darkness. Once long ago, there was a woman who lived alone in the country with her 3 children, Shang, Tao, and Peotzi. On the day of their grandmother's birthday, the good mother set off to see her, leaving the 3 children at home. Before she left, she said, "Be good while I am away, my heart-loving children. I will not return tonight. Remember to close the door tight at sunset and latch it well." But an old wolf lived nearby and saw the good mother leave. At dusk, disguised as an old woman, he came up to the house of the children and knocked on the door twice. Shang, who was the eldest, said through the latched door, "Who is it?" "My little jewels," said the wolf. "This is your grandmother, your Po Po." "Po Po?" Shang said. "Our mother has gone to visit you." The wolf acted surprised. "To visit me? I have not met her along the way. She must have taken a different route." "Po Po," Shang said, "how is it that you come so late?" The wolf answered, "The journey is long, my children, and the day is short." Shang listened through the door. "Po Po," she said, "why is your voice so low?" "Your grandmother has caught a cold, good children. It is dark and windy out here. Quickly open up and let your Po Po come in," the cunning wolf said. Tao and Peotzi could not wait. One unlatched the door and the other opened it. They shouted, "Po Po, Po Po, come in!" At the moment he entered the door, the wolf blew out the candle. "Po Po," Shang asked, "why did you blow out the candle? The room is now dark." But the wolf did not answer. Tao and Peotzi rushed to their Po Po and wished to be hugged. The old wolf held Tao. "Good child, you are so plump." He embraced Peotzi. "Good child, you have grown to be so sweet." Soon the old wolf pretended to be sleepy. He yawned. "All the chicks are in the coop," he said. Po Po is sleepy too. When he climbed into the big bed, Peotzi climbed in at one end with the wolf, and Shang and Tao climbed in at the other. But when Shang stretched, she touched the wolf's tail. "Po Po, Po Po, your foot has a bush on it." "Po Po has brought hemp strings to weave you a basket," the wolf said. Shang touched grandmother's sharp claws. "Po Po, Po Po, your hand has thorns on it." "Po Po has brought an awl to make shoes for you," the wolf said. At once, Shang lit the light and the wolf blew it out again. But Shang had seen the wolf's hairy face. "Po Po, Po Po," she said, for she was not only the eldest, she was the most clever. "You must be hungry. Have you eaten ginkgo nuts?" "What is ginkgo?" the wolf asked. "Ginkgo is soft and tender like the skin of a baby. One taste and you will live forever," Shang said. "And the nuts grow on the top of the tree just outside the door." The wolf gave a sigh. "Oh dear, Po Po is old. Her bones have become brittle. No longer can she climb trees." "Good Po Po, we can pick some for you," Shang said. The wolf was delighted. Shang jumped out of bed and Tay and Peotzi came with her to the ginkgo tree. There Shang told her the sisters about the wolf, and all 3 climbed up the tall tree. The wolf waited and waited. Plump Tao did not come back. Sweet Peotzi did not come back. Shang did not come back, and no one brought any nuts from the ginkgo tree. At last the wolf shouted, "Where are you, children?" "Po Po," Shang called out. "We are on the top of the tree eating ginkgo nuts." "Good children," the wolf begged, "pluck some for me." "But Po Po, ginkgo is magic only when it's plucked directly from the tree. You must come and pluck it from the tree yourself." The wolf came outside and paced back and forth under the tree where he heard the 3 children eating the ginkgo nuts at the top. "Oh, Po Po, these nuts are so tasty. The skin so tender," Shang said. The wolf's mouth began to water for a taste. Finally, Shang, the eldest and most clever child, said, "Po Po, Po Po, I have a plan. At the door, there's a big basket. Behind it is a rope. Tie the rope to the basket, sit in the basket, and throw the other end to me. and I can pull you up." The wolf was overjoyed and fetched the basket and the rope, and then threw one end of the rope up to the top of the tree. Shang caught the rope and began to pull the basket up and up. Halfway, she let go of the rope, and the basket and the wolf fell to the ground. "I'm so small and weak, Po Po," Shang pretended. "I could not hold the rope alone." "This time I will help," Tao said. "Let's do it again." The wolf had only one thought in his mind, to taste a ginkgo nut. He climbed into the basket again. Now Shang and Tao pulled the rope on the basket together, higher and higher, and again they let go, and again the wolf tumbled down, down, and bumped his head. The wolf was furious. He growled and cursed. "We could not hold the rope, Po Po," Shang said, "but only one ginkgo nut, and you will be well again." "I shall give a hand to my sisters this time," Peotzi, the youngest, said. "This time we shall not fail." Now the children pulled the rope with all of their strength, and as they pulled they sang, "Hi-ho, hi-yo," and the basket rose straight up, higher than the first time, higher than the second time, higher and higher and higher, until it nearly reached the top of the tree. And when the wolf reached out, he could almost touch the highest branch, but at that moment Shang coughed, and they all let go of the rope, and the basket fell down, down, and down. Not only did the wolf bump his head, but he broke his heart to pieces. "Po Po?" Shang shouted, but there was no answer. "Po Po?" Tao shouted, but there was no answer. "Po Po?" Peotzi shouted. There was still no answer. The children climbed to the branches just above the wolf and saw that he was truly dead. Then they climbed down, went into the house, closed the door, locked the door with the latch, and fell peacefully asleep. On the next day their mother returned with baskets of food from their real Po Po, and the three sisters told her the story of the Po Po who had come. The end. All right, so one thing that I do with my students after we read the first time, usually I don't pause and stop and ask questions the first time I read it because it's a close read. You want to read it the first time for understanding. Just do your picture walk and then read it once to understand what the story is about, what the author's trying to tell you, and then you can read it a second time for that close read to get even deeper into the context, into the meaning. And then one thing that I do is go with a 5-finger retell. You got your 5 fingers, most of us anyways. You've got your characters, your setting, beginning, middle, and end. You can talk with your students about who the characters are, what the setting of the story is. That includes not just the location, but even the time, the era. Lots of clues in this could indicate not specifically when and where it is, but you can allude to some things. And then, of course, the beginning, middle, and end. You could talk about how the beginning of a story always pertains the trouble or the problem, almost like a roller coaster. You start at the beginning, you go up to the middle, the exciting part, climax, and then the end, it has that resolution. So after your characters and your setting, the beginning talks about the problem, the middle talks about everything that's happening in between them, the exciting parts, which in this case definitely would be related to the wolf trying to trick them and then them countering that and trying to trick the wolf. And then the end is when the resolution is solved, when the problem is solved, when there is finality in the story. So yeah, picture walk, make predictions. First read, go ahead and just read it without pausing. Second close read, pause, ask questions, think about things. We won't go through it a second time, but that was Lon Po Po, and I hope you enjoyed.